Republican, doesn't matter. The majority responsibility for raising money is the candidate's responsibility. So candidates should spend about 50% of their time during the first part of the campaign raising money. 50%. Now, once they get to where they're doing field operations and direct voter contact, which is door knocking, all that kind of thing, it drops down to 30%, but they're still doing 30%. Another statistic for you to think about is the amount of money that you raise online. So online fundraising is 10% of the capacity of what you could raise. So for candidates that think that the majority of the money that they're going to raise is going to be done online, they've left 90% of the possible funds that they could get. They've just not even touched it. So when you're talking about fundraising, candidates' responsibility, and you can't just throw it out there online and do social media pushes and that kind of stuff and think that that's the way you're going to fund your campaign. It's not going to happen. So there's 7 major ways that you can fundraise, and that is a personal ask, direct mail, your finance committee, PACs, events, and internet. So you want to use as many of those different methods as you can, because donors give on different methods. So people that will come to your event and give to an event generally don't donate when they receive an email solicitation. Someone who responds to direct mail generally doesn't respond when you call them. So you have to try to get these donors in different ways. So fundraising is about 2 things: expanding your pool of prospects and maximizing which each donor will give you. So tonight we're going to be talking about expanding the pool. So when we talk about that, first thing you're going to want to do is create what's called a wedding list. Some people will call it a birthday list or that kind of thing, but it's the very start to your database. So find out whatever type of database you're going to use, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet, whether that's a CRM, whatever you're going to use. Pick that system, but it needs to be something your key volunteers can access and add information to, because if they interact with people, they want to put those notes down. If they have people that they come in contact with that they want to add into your database, they need to be able to do that. So you have to have a system in place that they can do that. So find that system, and that's what you're going to do. And for every contact person, you're going to want to know, of course, their name, their email, their phone number, and their physical address as a bare minimum. So the first thing you're going to do is your wedding list or your Christmas card list or birthday party list, however you want to do that. And what it is it's 100 people, minimum 100 people that you know. So this is your friends and your family. And you're just going to write down every name or enter every name into your database. Enter it in. Every person you know. And don't stop until you get at least to 100. If you can go past 100, that's fantastic. But you need at least 100, okay? So when you have those 100 names down, and you have done family, and you've done friends, and you've done some business associates, and you've looked through your social media, and then you've gotten their name, their phone number, their email, and hopefully their address, what do you do next? Well, the next thing that you do, and keep in mind, these are people that you know, and they wish you well, right? They don't have to be best friends. They just have to have warm, fuzzy feelings for you. First thing you're going to do is note who makes $200,000 or more. You may have to guess on this. Okay, someone needs to mute themselves. Someone needs to mute themselves. Come on, people. So note who makes $200,000 a year. You may have to guess on this. but you can kind of get an idea from what their jobs are, that type of thing, right? Okay, so note who makes 200,000 or less, or 200,000 or more. And you're going to mark these people as major donors. Okay, next, you're going to note on your list who lives within driving distance of you, meaning you could drive to go see them, and who doesn't. The people who live within driving distance, you're going to mark those people as visit. People who live outside of easy driving distance, you're going to mark those people as phone. Okay, we're going to come back to them. Out of the people who live near you, who are the ones who have influence? Meaning they have a large social network. They are in charge of an organization. They're influential in some way. Doesn't mean that they're wealthy. It just means that they have influence. People respect them. They listen to them when they talk, okay? Mark those people as influencers. So the designations you now have in your budding database are phone and major donor, phone and influencer, phone, major donor, and influencer, because they could be both. Someone could be a major donor and an influencer. You also have visit, major donor, visit, influencer, and visit, major donor, influencer. Okay, so those are the designations that you now have in your database. And for every name that you add into your database, you're going to be marking them in the same way, because you're going to be able to sort them. So you're going to focus first on the people who are major influencers, because and your potential major donors. Okay, so schedule a time to call or visit them. So if you want to do a call with a major donor, you're first going to contact them and say, I would like to discuss my possible run for city council with you. When is a good time that you would have 15 to 20 minutes to do so? Okay, so make an appointment to do so. And the best time to do this is actually before you've announced. If you've already announced your run, that's okay. Just continue on. But if you haven't yet announced your run, you'll want to start contacting your major donors and influencers before you do a public announcement, because then you're letting them know first, you're getting feedback from them, and you're soliciting a donation as well. For influencers and donors as well, you're also going to ask them to host a house party for you, or a dinner, but hopefully a house party. House parties take a lot less of your time than a dinner, because you're wanting to branch out. And this is how you're going to begin expanding your database, right? So for people who are only influencers and they are of modest means, just ask for a modest donation, but focus on having them host a house party or some type of event for you. For people who are major donors, you want to try to get the max donation from them. And we can calculate how you do that, how you can figure out, what their capacity is. And you'll want to hopefully visit them in person to do so. And after they do that, then you'll be asking them to either host a house party for you or introduce you into their network as well. So this is the main budding area of your database. So this is where you start. And this is where most people end, if they have. Many people have a hard time even asking people they know for donations. And that is something that we need to get over, because you're not imposing on them. What you're doing is you're offering them the opportunity to accomplish something they want to accomplish through your campaign. So that's an opportunity for them, and they can gauge whether that's an opportunity that they want to avail themselves of or not, and leave that up to them. So now we're going to talk about the next tier of branching out. You're past your 100 names or 300 names, depends on how many you were able to get down. So the next thing you're going to do is, out of your friends, those 100 people, you're now going to ask them, what friends of yours are really interested in achieving this policy position? Or which friends of yours do you think would be interested in supporting my campaign? And then when you ask these questions, you shut up and you wait for them to respond. And, they'll need to think it through. And hopefully what they do is not just give you the names, but start to introduce you to these people. And, they would be saying, oh, my friend's running for city council. I would love for you to meet him or her. I think you would really like this. They're totally on board with some of the issues you had. So, let's get together. So, that's the kind of thing you want. Now you're starting to expand in that first branch past it. You'll also want to do friends of your family members. So out of your family members, asking them, which of your friends do you think would support X policy position? Which of your friends do you think would support my candidacy for X? You'll also want to do family members of your friends. Do your parents hold the same values that you do for liberty? Those are the kinds of questions you're going to want to ask and expand that out. The next step out is any organizations you belong to, because if you're running for office, you should belong to some organizations. You should be networking within your community. And if you haven't started that, please do so. So it could be the chamber, or it could be a gun club you belong to, or, whatever group it is, your religious organizations, anything like that. So it'll be people through there, members through there. Maybe you don't know them very well, but you have that tie and you can approach them as a fellow member. Allied organizations, you may not belong to this organization, but say, the policy position that you're going to have is food freedom, and you're very strong on that. So one of the things you're going to be doing is approaching groups that are very focused on raw milk and making raw milk legal in your area, if it's not. So you'll be contacting the heads of those organizations and getting their support. And then once you get their support, then it's their members, and you start bringing their members into your data and expanding your pool that way. It is every person you have ever emailed or has emailed you. And most email systems will allow you to do a pull of that information. And yeah, you can, check out the people who are spamming you and that kind of stuff. Or, someone you just contacted once for a very peripheral thing. But anyone that you have emailed or has emailed you, okay, you're going to start bringing them in as either a prospect or a suspect into your database. Business associates, your business associates, your spouse's business associates, parents' business associates, children's business associates. I mean, that's how you're expanding out. So you have these rings that start with like those core 100 people, and now you're starting to expand out a little bit. The next branch that you're going to want to look at is PACs. So you can evaluate PACs, but here's the key on PACs, okay? PACs are not going to donate to candidates usually early unless they're an incumbent. PACs, like, if it's not a sure thing, they at least want to be like hedging their bet, okay? So what you're going to do during the beginning is you're going to find out what PACs you may be eligible to approach. Such as, so I was a pro-choice candidate, even though city council does nothing with that whatsoever. However, I knew that there was a PAC called Women Winning, and that's what they do. They fund pro-choice women. They don't care what party. That's what they're looking for. And they gave me $500. So there are PACs out there. You just have to find those specialty niches. So write out which PACs they are, because this is what PACs are going to look for. They're going to look for, are you viable? Have you done fundraising? Do you have a campaign plan? And a little later into the campaign season, they'll open it up to approach us and we'll evaluate you. And many of them will evaluate you on, have you raised a good amount of money? Because if you haven't, they're really not interested. If you have, that really raises you up, and oftentimes it matters far more than party affiliation for them. Next ring out is finance committee. So who's on your finance committee? This is not compliance. This is not your treasurer. These are not people who know campaign finance rules. These are people in that original list that you made who are your donors and your influencers and showed a lot of activity with your campaign. Like, they are into it. So you had a donor who was a max donor. They gave the maximum amount. You have an influencer who's like, heck yes, I'm going to invite you to, I'm going to introduce you to people, and I'm going to have a house party for you and that type of stuff. Those are the people that you want on your finance committee. They are committed to your campaign. And they're connected enough that they can help raise funds for your campaign. So those are the people that you put on your finance committee. It is kind of an honorary position, but it is an active position within a campaign. And it's an important position because, so your finance committee can raise usually about 15% of your total funds. And that's nothing to sneeze at, because that's activities that they're doing that most of the time the candidate really doesn't have to do anything or much or take up much of their time. So that's those rings out. So how do you expand your donor base even further? There's two ways to really push your reach out quickly and exponentially. First one is events. Events oftentimes don't raise money, but there's a specific category of political events that really do raise money, and those are called house parties. House parties are very intimate. They're 10 to 20, maybe 30 at the most people. The candidate does not organize this event. The candidate attends the event for about 15 minutes, and then they go to the next one. And you can stack house parties one after another. So a house party is a volunteer or a key supporter says, yes, I would like to host a house party. I will have this at my house. We're going to have some drinks and some appetizers, and I'll invite my neighbors and my friends who are in your voting district, your voting area, and let them know that this will be a casual time, that they get to meet you and ask you a few questions. It's very low key, it's very casual. And in the candidate area on the helpdesk.lp.org wiki, we have how to host a house party, and we have other documents on some of the things that I'm talking about tonight, so you can review those. So they host that party, and how it goes is people arrive, and keep in mind, with the package, you remind people, don't just do a Facebook event. People don't show up. They need to call and invite their neighbors, because when you call someone and say, hey, are you coming? And they say, yes, I am. They will, right? For the most part, they will come. Whereas if it's just a Facebook event, you get maybe a quarter, maybe 20% of the people who said they would. And then you end up going to a house party where there's like 2 people, and that's not good. So have a goal for your house party, which is the monetary amount you want to raise. And that's what it's for. It's for donors, money, volunteers. That's really what it's for, and for votes. So they do that. The host, when you arrive, the host gives just a 2-minute talk about why they support you. And usually it's a personal story, and it's touching on emotion. You know, I'm so happy to support this person for city council because, you know the trouble that I've had with X, Y, and Z, and it cost me so much money, and it was, very stressful in my life, and blah, blah, blah. And I know that if we had X person for city council, this is something that she would address, and she would be able to help us with and remove these restrictions. And so for that reason, I have given my max donation of $500 to this candidate, but I wanted you to be able to ask her a few questions. So let's have her talk. At this point, the candidate then says a few words, just a couple minutes, why they're running. Again, it needs to be a personal story. What is that moment that had you decide to run? Relay that story. Open it up to just a couple questions. After the questions, the host thanks you and then says, and that's why I support this candidate. Again, I was able to get the max donation, and I'm hoping that all of you will be able to support this person for candidate as well. And at that point, your treasurer or someone that's with your campaign is handing out the envelopes for donations, and then picking up those envelopes. The host doesn't talk during that time. The candidate doesn't talk during that time. It is everyone at the party kind of watching each other, because as one person gives, other people feel a lot more comfortable about giving. We are herd animals, and we tend to behave in a herd mentality way. So that's how that works. But how do events like this push you past, even exponentially past? So you have a group of people here that you normally wouldn't have contacted, 10 to 20 people. You're able to talk to them for 15 minutes. The host has their information. The key is the follow-up after the party. You're going to follow up after the party. You have these people's information, thanking them for coming, that it was a wonderful time to be able to talk to them and connect with them, asking them if they Jess says, get pictures. Yes, get pictures. Asking them if they have any other questions, and then you will ask them. So would you like to have the opportunity of hosting a house party of your own so that your friends and neighbors could ask questions as well? Because I would love the opportunities to be able to meet them. And again, just like any ask, after you make an ask, you shut up. On about half of these parties, you're going to get 2 to 3 house parties scheduled. And that's how it spiders out very quickly. And the fantastic thing about house parties is your opponent cannot see what you're doing or how fast and how quickly your influence is spreading. And it is a wonderful way for forging bonds quickly with people. You're in a casual way. It's very intimate. You're in someone's house. People do give. The majority of people are going to donate. On some of these house parties, after the candidate leaves, the host has led them to door knock the neighborhood for you for an hour. And then they come back and finish their party. So these house parties can be, they can really make or break your candidacy. So what's another way that you can expand your database? Through petitions. And I don't mean like petitions to get on the ballot. What I mean is web petitions that are on a specific issue. If you think marijuana should be legal, you should sign this petition. Or if you think we should allow on-street parking at night in our city, sign this petition. So you're collecting information from people who are very passionate about a specific issue that you also are passionate about, something that you think is a strength of your candidacy. And these people now are suspects in your database. So suspects are people you don't know very much about. There's some level of interest, right? But you don't know very much about them. They become prospects if they have capacity. So interest is one thing. Capacity is the other. Capacity could be the capacity to vote. Are they able to vote for you? Capacity could be, do they have the funds available to donate for you? And capacity could be, are they able to volunteer for you? So you have to gauge, do they have capacity? Once you've gauged that they do have capacity, whether they choose to or not, they're a prospect. Prospects become donors or volunteers or votes. Donors and volunteers and voters also donate again. Half of the people who donate to you will donate a second time and a third time. through your campaign. Donors also give you referrals to other donors. So we have some of these documents of things that I've been talking about, including a little package of how to do a house party and the information that you give to a potential host so that they can do that. Remember, you got to ask people to host these parties. Yes, you want to put it on your website. Hey, if you want to host a party, get a hold of me, but you're going to have to ask people to get these started. So that is on helpdesk.lp.org/wiki. It is password protected, and the password is all lowercase, and it is volunteers at LP. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unmute everyone's. Everyone is unmuted at this point. If you have questions, please ask. If you don't have a question, unmute yourself again. So, questions about fundraising. About expanding your donor pool. Oh, yeah, Vicki is asking if someone can type that wiki info in. Jasper, could you type the wiki information in? Yeah. Help desk. helpdesk.lp.org/wiki. Does anyone else have any questions? Anyone have any questions on breakdowns on fundraising?
That's what we were here to discuss, right? Fundraising? Money?
I'm sorry. What was that?
This is Vicki. I have a question.
Yes.
What about asking for money while door knocking?
Nope.
So if you have a hot door, absolutely. You can always ask for money. You know, when I would door knock.
I have a website, you can donate on my website. That's all I would say. Yeah. I would not ask people for money face to face. Yeah. I've done that before. And then it was like your panhandling.
When I've door knocked, if I have a hot door in order, so what I'm looking for is number one, I'm looking for support. They're like, yeah, I totally support you. Next thing that I'm looking for is I tell them, great, for your support. Would you like to have a yard sign in your yard? Because that really, lets other people know about me and reinforces that, I'm a great candidate. Is this a way you could help me out? If they say, yeah, I definitely want to do that, and I want to volunteer for you, how do I get involved? Would they ask me, how can I help you? I will let them know. It would be great if you could donate for me. It would also be great if you could do a donation. Are you comfortable with either of those? But for me to ask for a volunteer, or if they want to, donate, I wait for them to say, this is great, how can I help you?
Thank you. Makes sense.
Yep. Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
What tips can you offer to a candidate when he's approaching someone asking for a donation? You mentioned about how we need to get over approaching people. I won't deny it. I'm one of those people who's just plain petrified at the thought of actually going to any person and asking them anything. What tips can you offer to help someone?
Are you going to run for office?
Huh?
So, asking for money, many people with that. Even people who can door knock or, they're very social, that kind of stuff. They have a hard time asking. But when you are approaching someone to ask them to donate to your campaign, you're not begging. That's not what you're doing. When you are asking them to donate, you're giving them the opportunity
to invest in the future of
something that they want to do through your campaign. So that's what you're doing. And that's
ain't paying my rent.
Yeah, and most people donate because they were asked. Most people don't donate because they weren't asked. All you're doing is giving them the opportunity
for everything.
Yes or no. That's up to them. So, and I would practice. So if I were nervous about approaching people and asking for money,
That reminded me of something for some reason. I put in for my hours now. I'm taking 30 minutes off so I can make it to the airport for my flight.
okay, I'm getting a lot of noise from someone online, and I can't tell if they're asking a question. But it sounds like a side conversation.
I don't know if they can hear us. Can you hear us?
Oh, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, we thought we were on mute.
Nope. Okay, does anyone else have a question?
Yeah. Oh my God, I would make a comment if you'd allow me. You mentioned envelopes. People should make sure to keep things that we suggest to their campaign, and also that they have a donor and volunteer card. Which is the same thing. You can leave it, people.
Is that Darth Vader?
So that you can collect information on them and they will send it back when they want, and they have your contact information.
Yeah, I don't think any of us can understand anything you're saying. It's very modulated. It was very distorted.
Can you still hear us?
I can.
Oh, good.
Yup, we're hanging right with you. So when you are fundraising, how the fundraising percentages break down, and I told you before that about 10% of what you can raise, what your capacity to raise is online. So if that's all you're doing, you're only getting 10% of the possible funds that you could have. About 15% is going to come from your finance committee. And again, remember, those are people who want you to do well. 60% is the candidate. 60% of your fundraising is going to come from the candidates. 15% is going to come from events. So that's the breakdown. Does anyone else have any other questions? Let's see, I do. Folks should have a printed return envelope to hand out to everyone. Yes, definitely. In the chat room, that comment is dead on. Yeah. For your donations, you should always have that printed return envelope. Make it as easy as possible for people to donate. When you are asking people to donate, the other thing that you need to do is do an evaluation of how much they can give, because you have max donations, but you also want to gauge how much a person can give, because when you do your ask, you want to ask for a specific amount. You don't want to just say, could you donate? It is, could you donate $50? Could you donate $400? You're going to be asking for a very specific amount. So to do that, you need to get a gauge for what their capacity to give is. And in that candidate area in the wiki, there is a calculator for how to calculate your ask. And it will run you through a quick and dirty of, how much could that person donate. For some campaigns, you're capped. Like mine, it was $600. $600 was the max donation. So yeah, there were donors that could have given me more, but they just couldn't. And also keep in mind that the people will not give you more than what you ask. So if you ask for someone, ask someone for $50 and they could have given you $200, they're going to give you $50. Any other questions? Crowd pack. I think there are different ways to raise money online, and whether you consider them online or virtual direct mail is kind of up to how you want to do it. I consider all online the same. If you have a tool you are more comfortable with using, go ahead and use that, but do not invest a large amount of your time for online fundraising. the thing about online fundraising is it's supposed to be something that does so with, yep, Emily's list, does so with a modicum of effort, because keep in mind, it's going to be 7 to 10% you're going to raise online. 50% of your time as a candidate needs to be visiting or calling people and asking for a donation. Flat out, you got to do it. Once you get into field work, it drops down to 30%, but that's still going to be 30% of your time. Any other questions? Okay. Do you recommend a hard ask? I do. I do. I think hard asks are respectful, especially when you're talking to major donors. You don't want to waste your time. You're not looking to be coy. You are offering them the opportunity, and you are demonstrating that you are serious about this, and you're demonstrating what you can do and what you can accomplish. And when you do your direct ask of a donor, you're going to talk about specifics of what can be accomplished when you're in office, and that you know how to get into office so that your donor can achieve the goal that they want through you. And this isn't about being unethical. This is about you and your donor having allied goals that you want to accomplish and being very respectful of that. So I think hard asks are more respectful. And when you do a hard ask, and you do any ask, if a major donor tells you no, don't think that that's the end. They may give you a very small amount too, and it may be a test amount, and they may give you more later. But don't take that too much to heart. Don't see that as, like really focus on it and get down about it and that kind of thing. Yep, always check with others. What you want to do is, if a donor says, I'd really rather not, then you'll want to ask a couple questions, such as, just so that I can do better as a candidate, is it the amount that is the challenge? And then you wait for them to respond. It's not the amount. Is it that you don't think the goal is something that you want to support? So you're going to ask a series of questions to see what it is. Is it the timing? Is this a bad time? Because you're going to use that feedback for your next conversation that you're having with a major donor. Because if they tell you, I think your plan is shit and it's unrealistic, don't get defensive. Say, thank you for that. What part of it do you find is unrealistic? What do you think is more realistic? Because every meeting is going to help you refine your ask, and your success rate is going to climb. Just don't get defensive. Any other questions? Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up. And we can do some future calls specifically on how to do different types of asks, and we can also do on how to maximize each donor. This was expanding your donor base. We can do another one on maximizing each donor. Thank you so much for being on this call, and hopefully it recorded. It looks like it's recording, and then we can get this call up in the candidate area. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, you guys. Have a good one, and see you all later.